it's 6 o'clock, so let's begin. Welcome everybody who's here live, and obviously welcome if you are watching the recording back as well. In today's session, we're moving away from the themes that we've done over the last 2 months. I had really good feedback, so I'm really glad you guys like them so much. And then for this month, we're going to lean in a bit more to a kind of nervous system regulation and how posture impacts your nervous system, both in a kind of physical, but also like philosophical way as well. But we won't go into that today. That will be another session. We're going to be looking at circulation and we're going to be looking at lymphatic flow, lymphatic drainage, because all of these things are connected to your posture. But for this session, we are going to be doing 3 really gentle, relaxing poses that I know lots of you really, really like. We're going to be holding them for a long period of time where you don't have to think about your alignment or what you're doing or anything like that. The purpose of today's session is to really highlight some really important posture theory to you. So I'm not trying to like name and shame anybody. It's happened a lot. And so when something happens a lot, I have to look at what I'm doing and what I'm offering to make sure that I'm helping you as much as possible. But there have been lots of comments in the group over the last few months where people have been writing things like, my back hurts, what exercises shall I do? My knee hurts, what routine do you recommend? And I cannot do anything with that information. And what I'm going to do tonight is explain to you why that is, why I'm not being mean when I say that's not the right information for me. And instead, I'll let you know what it is that I need from you in order to be able to help you. I'm not being horrible. It's just that it's not the right information. And I think this is a class that I'm going to put for like new members really early on, so that this is a principle that people understand ASAP, because the sooner that we can understand this, the sooner you're going to start making progress. So I'll do lots of talking when we're in position, so I'll stop talking now. In terms of equipment today, I have got 2 bolsters. I know that it's unlikely you guys are going to have 2 bolsters. So if you don't, then get yourself a stack of pillows. But if you really like the exercise that we do tonight, supported frog, if you really find it helpful, maybe investing in 2 bolsters is not a bad thing. And just so you know, for a little bit of context, we have 2 bolsters at home, and Ben and I spend a lot of time in the evenings on these as an alternative to being on the sofa. So we can really use them outside of our posture time as well. I've got 2 yoga blocks, which are the same size. If you don't have yoga blocks, again, you'll be able to use cushions. It's fine. And then I've also got some spare cushions, regardless of the fact that I've got my bolsters as well. But just have that type of stuff close to hand and something will be figured out. We will get going, but we'll start off as ever with our standing assessment. So if you can come to standing position, shake your arms off, shake your hands off, take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out, and just let your body hang, stand where it wants to and how it wants to stand. So no pulling your shoulders back or trying to stand with good posture. You can't try and stand with good posture. You can only try and stand with forced posture, and forced posture breeds tension. Tension is not good posture. Posture is fluidity. Posture is movement. Posture is grace. Posture is ease. Posture is not standing rigidly like a soldier. All that does is make you stiffer. So just let it go. See what your body wants you to do, and just tune into how things feel for you today. So have you got pain? Where is that pain? Have you got tension? Where is that tension? Get a sense of where your hands are resting. Like, are they in front of you? Are they to the side of you? Where are your shoulders? Where is your weight distribution through your feet? Do you feel stable? Are you rocking forwards and backwards? Are you clenching your belly? Are you clenching your glutes? Just like let go of that clenching and just let your body kind of come into itself. Take a mental note. We're going to be checking in with ourselves again at the end. And hopefully you're going to feel better. But if you feel worse, there will be something that in this routine your body didn't like. Most people, I think, are going to feel pretty good from today. It's really quite gentle. It's really quite accessible. And if anything doesn't suit you, It's a little bit of posture theory. That's not what we were going to talk about separately. But if anything makes your normal symptoms of pain or tension feel worse, so if you have back pain when you're standing up like that, and we do an exercise and your back pain gets worse in a normal way, then it's not the exercise for you. Stop the exercise, do something else instead. You can be laying on your bed, you can do hook line, you can do static back, you can do wall frog, you can lay prone, you can do absolutely anything you like. I would rather you do something that you like and that suits you than just following my instructions because I'm teaching you an exercise. Okay, so we're going to start off today with supported fish, I believe. I think that's what we're going to do to start with. So for supported fish, this is where I'm going to use my blocks. Word of warning, I cannot seem to unpick from my brain the difference between supported fish and supported bridge. So I will probably use these terms interconnectedly. They're different exercises. They look very different, but I say the wrong one all the time. So please bear with me if you notice them. But we're going to do supported fish, which is the upper body exercise. I've created a T shape for myself. So I've got my blocks, which are fairly thick, on the lowest height. The top one is horizontal and it's going to be a pillow for my head. And then the bottom one is vertical and it's going to be running down my spine. Have your cushions to hand because you might need them depending on spinal mobility. We're going to roll ourselves backwards like this. And if you feel like your neck is, well, painful, if you're getting any pain through your neck doing this, but if you feel like your neck is really tilting backwards and your chin is lifting up to the ceiling, we call this hyperextension of the neck, which we don't want. So what I want you to do if that's happening is you flip the angle of your yoga block around so that you can put your chin in more of a like double chinned position. We want the back of the neck long to help stretch out the vertebrae feeding into the head. It's going to help to derotate them. It's going to help to unpinch nerves and things like that. It's going to help with your blood flow, help with your lymph flow as well. And then if this is still too low for you, then what I want you to do is add a cushion or two on top of your block. So if I wasn't able to kind of tuck my chin in here, then I could just put a cushion or even another cushion on top of my block and just mess around with it until we feel a height where we've got our sort of rib cage being pushed upwards by the weight of the pressure of the block, but our head is relaxed and it's not stressed. We can have our knees bent, we can have our legs long, we can have our legs in frog. We are going to be doing frog later on, so I probably recommend doing something a bit different for now, just because you'll be in that for quite a long time. And with your arms, you can put your arms out to the side at like 45 degrees. You can put your arms out to the side at 90 degrees, or if you want to, and it feels accessible to you, you can take your arms overhead, but try and keep your elbows. To be fair, it doesn't really matter what you do, but I like keeping my elbows quite close to my ears because this really helps to open up my armpit. So if my arms are wider, I maybe feel a bit more stretched through the front of my shoulders. But when I have my arms a bit closer to my ears, it feels like it unpicks my armpits a bit more. And the armpits are a real like hotbed of lymph nodes and like blood vessels and things like that. So mobilizing our armpits is really important for our kind of general theme of our nervous system circulation and lymph drainage classes this month. We're going to be here for like 10 minutes or so. So you can fidget, you can change your arm position, you can change your leg position, you can do whatever you want to do, but we are looking to get ourselves set up here in such a way where there is an element of challenge. So very, very manageable challenge. I heard I was doing a yoga class the other day and the yoga teacher I really liked. And he said, aim for progression, not aggression. And I really liked that. So what he meant by that is it's trying to find that edge. You're trying to progress slightly in a movement so that you feel a bit more stretch or you feel a bit more effort or you're sort of taking yourself close to that cliff edge but you're not putting yourself in a position where your nervous system locks up, or that you can't breathe, or that you're pulling a face, or that you're getting into forcing territory. So really aim for progression, not aggression. And if the movement starts to drift into an aggressive territory, which will result in pain or tension, a changing of the breath, a scrunching of the face, a scrunching of the hands, a scrunching of the belly, whatever it might be, then just back off a little bit. And by the way, please apply that to practically every single posture exercise or exercise in general that you ever do. We're looking for progression, but you'll not get progression through aggression. So we never want to be aggressive with our movement unless we're like fighting a saber-toothed tiger or something like that. Okay, so you're allowed to be aggressive if you're fighting someone or something to the death, but please not when we're doing posture classes or forms of activity that are supposed to be like nice and helpful and productive to our bodies. Okay, so we're laying here. Supported fish is opening up the thoracic area. So the thoracic area is the bottom of your rib cage, basically up until the bottom of your neck. Technically speaking, we say like your thoracic spine, so it's your spine. But when I'm talking about the thoracic, it's your rib cage, it's your collarbones, it's your armpits, it's your shoulders, it's your arms. It's a bit of everything in the upper body. And supported bridge is a really supported fish, I'm doing it already. Supported fish is a really great one for lifting the rib cage, providing more space for breathing, changing imbalance through the rib cage. So this is one of the best exercises for scoliosis. It's one of the best ones for my scoliosis. It can really change how the shoulders and the arms sit. It can change how the head and the neck sits. But like I mentioned before, crucially for the theme of the classes that we're doing this month, the front of the collarbone, the front of the neck, and the armpits are a real beehive of activity in terms of other systems in your body. So yeah, lymph nodes, circulation, blood vessels, that type of thing, but also nerves. So many nerves travel from the front of your neck through the collarbone down into your arms. If you're getting like pins and needles in your hands, what you know right now is that those nerves at the front of the shoulder are being impinged by your shoulder posture. So if you're getting tingly in a kind of bad way, a cold way through your hands, just change your arm position where you find a sense of stretching, but we're looking for warmth in the hands. We're not looking for cold in the hands. So just do whatever you need to do to find warmth in the hands rather than cold. We're breathing in and out of our nose, and we're sending this breath deeply into the bottom of our rib cage. So our diaphragm spans the bottom of the rib cage like an umbrella, and we're really trying to get the bottom of the rib cage moving upwards, downwards, and sideways with each and every breath that we take, with each and every inhale and exhale that we take. So try and think about the exhale and try and make your exhale a little bit longer than your inhale. So let's talk, whilst we're here, about symptoms. So just to recap what I said at the beginning there, I totally get it. I do not think you're stupid at all for asking this question, and I totally understand why you ask these questions. I need to do a better job of explaining why those questions are not helpful to you, but they're not helpful to me either. And it is based around our perception of symptoms. We live in a world which there are many things wrong with it, but I won't go into all of that. But we have this like real, I don't quite understand why, but we think that the thing that is shouting at us is the problem, rather than it being a messenger that there is a problem. And the difference in that is subtle. The difference in that sentence is subtle, but it's incredibly pivotal and important when it comes to making progress with not only your posture, but basically your entire health. For the longest time possible, sorry, not for the longest time possible, for the longest time, and I'm also not saying that I want to go back in time in terms of like medical advancements, but for a really long time, we weren't able to like look in people's bodies or give people medication. And I believe that when we couldn't do that, we were probably forced to use our wisdom and intuition a little bit more. But with surgical interferences and x-rays and MRIs and CT scans and all these things that we can now do, we separate ourselves from what the message of the body is really trying to tell us. And I do think that people are getting better at understanding this when it comes to other aspects of health. But when it comes to musculoskeletal pain, there is a really bad mismatch that is causing people a lot of pain. It's causing people a lot of unnecessary medical intervention. It's causing people a lot of like time and enjoyment of life. And actually, with so much musculoskeletal pain, it's incredibly simple, but it's just that you're looking in the wrong places. And what posture is all about is teaching you this paradigm shift around understanding symptoms and getting you to understand that it's actually incredibly simple, but we just have to give our bodies the right input and not get misled by where the symptoms present themselves. So the examples that I like to give for this in terms of like general life, I think that most people nowadays are quite open to the fact that they might have a headache because they're stressed. I think people might be open to the fact that they have a stomach ache because they've inhaled a bunch of processed food, or let's not call it food, processed plastic, non-food. People might be aware of the fact that they haven't slept because they've drunk alcohol and therefore their body is working really hard at nighttime to process the alcohol out of their system. People might be having, people might have a drinking problem because they're hiding from unresolved childhood traumas. The examples like this can go on and on and on and on. You can have psoriasis because you're stressed or that you're having too much lactose in your diet. Like there are a million different conditions which present themselves in the human body, but the issue itself is not the psoriasis, it's not the headache, it's not the not sleeping, it's not the, go through that list of things I've just said. Let's use the psoriasis as the example. The problem with the psoriasis isn't the skin. The skin is the messenger that there is an imbalance in the body elsewhere. It's about finding the other imbalance that is causing the psoriasis. It's not about applying a bunch of topical steroid cream or whatever it is that people apply to psoriasis. That is treating the symptom. It's not treating the root cause of the problem. If you could have a headache because you're dehydrated and you could take a tablet for the headache, or you could just drink water. And I'm not saying that all headaches are caused by dehydration, by the way, but it could be. You could sleep badly every night and carry on drinking alcohol every night, or you could change the alcohol and sleep better. Or likewise with caffeine, like let's not have caffeine after midday or things like that. So I do think that more widely, people are getting more used to seeing how the symptoms of a problem do not necessarily manifest in the way, stress doesn't have one way that it can manifest itself. So it finds these ways of leaking into all of these other different pores and systems of our body. And our musculoskeletal system is no different. So we have to look beyond the understandable but very unhelpful notion that your neck pain is a neck problem, or that your back pain is a back problem, or that your knee pain is a knee problem, or that your foot pain is a foot problem. All of these things are messengers that there are a problem, just like the psoriasis is a messenger that there's a problem, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But just because your knee hurts, it doesn't mean that your knee wants you to do anything to it. Just because your foot hurts, your foot doesn't want you to do anything to it. Just likewise, keep applying this to any body part that ails you. Your body works as a system, and it has been designed through hundreds of thousands of years of evolution to operate as a hunter-gatherer in a hunter-gatherer environment that we no longer live in. So we have all of these enormous environmental mismatches for the bodies that we live in. And the bodies that we live in, therefore, display many different signs and symptoms of distress because we're basically zoo animals living in a toxic world that we aren't supposed to live in. So everything that in our environment, everything that we're eating, everything that we're wrapping our bodies in and living in, the carpets on the floor, the sofa fabric, all of this stuff is not what we were designed for. And our bodies are trying constantly to send us messages. But we have to listen to those messengers, and we have messengers, and we have to respond to them. I'm going to carry on with this, but we're going to change position now. So we're going to come out of supported fish if we're still there. Remember, if anything ever feels too much for you, you can come out sooner, or you could do something else that you like instead. There is no obligation to stay in any of these things as long as I am. So we've done supported fish, and I do recommend when you kind of, before we go into the next one, let's just give ourselves a second here to kind of recalibrate on the floor. I love, for me, that sensation of how my sort of rib cage is so much more flat to the floor. There's so much more space at the back. I can feel that my shoulders are kind of rearranged. They're sitting behind me better, which is really, really nice. But I always like to take a bit of stock of how an exercise has made me feel. And it really helps us to highlight to ourselves which exercises are working for us or not working for us. So just always be quite analytical, especially if you've got a sort of a bit of a volatile body. So if you've got a body that likes to be in pain, not likes to be in pain, but is in pain a lot, then just make sure you're evaluating, because with this evaluation is going to come power. The more you're able to avoid certain things or do more of certain things, the more you are going to create your own pathway for yourself where you just really focus on the stuff that you need more of. Okay, what we're going to do next is we're going to take our block on the lowest height and we're going to pop it underneath our pelvis. We're going to make sure that the top of our pelvis, our sacrum, is slightly closer towards the floor than our tailbone. So we're rolling our pelvis slightly posteriorly here, which means that we're lengthening the lower back and we're opening up the front of the hips. If I have my pelvis higher up my sacrum and then my coccyx was lower, I'm in an anterior pelvic tilt there, and my lower back is slightly, it's not hyperextended, but it's in some extension. I want the lower back to be moving towards flexion. So I'm putting that block a little bit lower down the pelvis, and it's tilting my pelvis backwards. And then the bottom of my rib cage is touching the floor. So I'm not like this, because that's not going to let any hips relax off. That's going to make lower backs hurt. We're really trying to ground the rib cage on the floor. And if you can't ground your rib cage on the floor whilst you do this, then what I want you to do is, rather than use a block, I want you to use a cushion instead. And I want you to be humble about it, okay? Because you might be like, oh, but I want to use the block because it's higher and Ellie's using the block. I want your bottom of your rib cage grounded. So I want you to have a pillow if that's what you need to do. The height of the block requires more open hips. And if your hips are not open, you're going to be like this, and your hips are going to remain not open, and your lower back's probably going to hurt. So let's not do that, okay? Pelvis tucks under, rib cage grounds, whatever height that block needs to be on, so be it. Okay, and this supported bridge, this is actually supported bridge, by the way. In supported bridge, we are balancing the pelvis and we're opening the hips up into extension. So for so many of us, we're spending so long in seats, and we have done since we were babies and we left the hospital in our baby seats, that our hips get incredibly bunged up and dysfunctional, and it clogs the entire body. And your psoas muscles, these kind of front hip muscles that are in this region here, they are a kind of trauma center for your body as well. And when the psoas muscles are tight, or when they're like tense and held in contraction, which for a sedentary society will be constantly, it's sending messages to your nervous system that you need to be on high alert. So the psoas contracts as a fight or flight response. And so if your posture is keeping your psoas in constant contraction, you're not only making your like posture and pain worse, but you're making your anxiety levels, your mental health worse as well, because you're constantly feeding your nervous system a message that it needs to be on high alert. There's something to be scared of. So opening the hips is like a really important part of posture, full stop. But on top of that, this is also a hotbed of nerves, of lymph, of blood vessels as well. So there's an incredible amount of stuff going on around the pelvis, around the groin, and in the inner thigh. So bunged up hips are going to stop you from getting like nerve flow, you know what I mean, nerve function down to your feet. Likewise with blood flow, and things like that. So this is multifaceted. This is helping our posture and our pain, but it's helping the other things that we're going to be working on this month as well. So I said your body's only ever trying to send you a message. We're back to the theory, by the way. Your body's only ever trying to send you a message, but it only has so much that it can do. It's not able to talk to you in your language. You've got to think about you, who you think you are is who bloody knows what's going on, but you are kind of separate to your body. Yes, everything's connected, but you and your body are not always on the same page. You know, I firmly believe that the body is infinitely more wise than the brain, and the brain is like this annoying toddler that gets in the middle of the wisdom of the body. And what posture over time will teach you is it's like going to couples therapy. It's like counseling between you and your body. You've spent so many years being sedentary. You've spent so many years, you know, being a parent or working a job, doing all of these other things that kind of take us out of our body. And as we become disconnected from our body, that's when our body tries to scream at us louder and louder and louder because it wants us to listen, it wants us to connect again, and we just ignore it and take painkillers and go to the doctor and rush around to all these appointments to fix us because we're broken. None of that stuff is true. You just have to learn to listen to your body. And I'm not saying you don't always have to go to the doctor, but when it comes to like back pain, the doctors aren't going to be that helpful about it. So posture is going to reconnect you back to your body, and nobody can do that for you. It's like learning a language. I can't be with you all of the time to translate French for you. I mean, I can't speak French. That would be also really useless. But I can't be with you all of the time to help you get by and be a translator. You have to become that translator, because that's where you're going to be powerful, and that's where you're going to gain your confidence, and that's where your body is going to start changing, and crucially that's when your body is going to start trusting you. So a massive part of what goes wrong, I think, with posture is that this toddler brain of ours is so pig-headed sometimes that we force our poor body to do a bunch of stuff that it's directly telling us that it doesn't want to do. And we just think that we can force and fight and push and make something happen when the body knows that that's not the right thing. And it will be forced for a while. You can do that. But at some point, it's going to break. And the body will start giving you more and more signals. And if you are fixated on symptoms, you will fixate on the wrong stuff. You've got to see it as this hole that we're looking to fix. We don't want to fix your bad knee. We don't want to fix your bad neck. We don't want to fix your bad back. We want all of your body behaving in the way that it's designed to behave. This is not about symptom chasing, whack-a-moling. It's about a whole body approach, and it takes time, and it's only going to happen when you have the patience to keep coming back to it and learning the lessons that it's trying to teach you. So, symptoms, why they're unhelpful, and what I need you to actually tell me to help. Most people will come to posture. I appreciate this. Most people are going to come to posture not because they just want to feel the best that they can, and not because they want to improve their performance. I wish more people did. But for most people, they're going to come to posture because they've tried everything else. Other things haven't worked for them. They're in pain, and this is their last chance saloon. Most people have spent many years being told by other people diagnoses. Oh, you've strained your back, you've got plantar fasciitis, you've got herniation of L5, you've got this, you've got that. Most things end with itis, osis, opathy, algia. We have all these names, and the names don't really mean anything because the names don't tell you what the actual problem is. they show you where there's wear and tear, they show you where there's overload, but none of those names tell you anything helpful about the root cause of the problem. And when people kind of first get into posture, you know, they think, brilliant, there's this magic lady called Posture Ellie, and I just need to tell her my shopping list of the symptoms that I've got, and she will churn out routines that will fix me. Brilliant. I don't have to do any thinking. Ellie can just fix me, and I'll do those routines, and I'm done. And it doesn't work like that. It's a two-way conversation. I can't help you unless I have the information that I need in order to help you. And you listing off symptoms is like telling me I've got a headache, I've got psoriasis, I've got a drinking problem, I've got this, I've got that, I've got that, I've got that. And then me just being like, okay, cool, there's these three things and these three things will fix you. If you've got all of that stuff going on, you need like a whole system reboot. Like everything needs to change about your lifestyle. But the same is true with our posture. The symptoms are a messenger, they are not the problem in themselves. So when you join the posture squad or when you ask me questions in the software, I am not interested in the nicest possible way. I'm not interested in what symptoms you have. I don't care that you have back pain or knee pain. What I care about is what changes that pain. So again, a bit like I said at the beginning, like the symptoms are a messenger that there is a problem, but they are not the problem in itself. It's the same here. I don't care that you have back pain. What I care about is what changes your back pain, which is a fundamental difference. Let's stay here for about a couple more minutes and then we'll finish the last exercise. So when you first begin, I appreciate that you probably actually don't have a clue. Like you haven't done posture before. You've never done static back or modified floor block or any of these things. So how can you possibly know what changes your back pain? And this is where you have to just start. I can't do anything where I don't have information and data from you. So when you're first starting posture, you just have to start doing some posture without overthinking it too much. Just start doing some exercises and start doing some routines. And when you do those things, you just need to make a note of which ones made your symptoms better or worse. So, you know, you might say for example, you redo this class and you listen to my monologue once again, but say you redo this class, we've got 3 exercises. The first exercise is testing for your upper body position, or it's challenging your upper body position. This exercise is challenging your hips and pelvic position. And the last one that we're going to do is going to be testing how open your hips are, basically. And so you will glean information from this class if you choose to listen to it. You might find that one exercise feels really good. You might find that all of them feel really good. If so, great. You might find that all 3 of the exercises make your pain worse. From my perspective, in terms of being extremely objective and logical with how I deduce these problems, that's also great because it's information. If you tell me, Ellie, I did your class tonight and supported fish, supported bridge, and supported frog all made my pain worse, I would go, great. I know that I don't need to go after opening their hips, changing their pelvis, or changing their upper body. In that case, then, what does that leave? We haven't looked at their feet, and we haven't looked at their hands. So in my mind, that's where it's going. There is no such thing as bad information. It's all information, and it's just about making the right decisions with it. So what you need to do when you first start doing posture is not think, where do I start? What is perfect for my body? You need to start anything, click any routine in the library, although I recommend not choosing a 5 chilli rating if that's the case. And from that routine, you will start gathering information. And from that information, you will be able to tell me 3 or 5 exercises maybe where you will say, this made me feel a bit worse, this made me feel a bit better, and this one made me feel about the same. And from that information, it gives me clues as to where we go next. So it might be, for example, like let's use today as an example, because I think that's going to be the most helpful. This exercise here is opening your hips into extension. If you do this exercise and you notice afterwards that suddenly your right knee stops hurting, then what that tells me is that by working on your hip extension more, you will stop your right knee from hurting. And therefore, what I can do is I can go into the Posture Squad library and I can say, oh, you can try this routine. Or if you want to, and if you want to, do this yourself, you search in the search bar at the top, hip extension, and you find routines that give you more hip extension. I'm more than happy to help you, by the way. Like, you can totally ask me, but if you don't want to wait for my reply, you can search in the search bar, hip extension. You can go to the classes in the playlist and you can go to the routines that are divided by different types of posture deviations, different areas of the body. Like, there's so much that you could do whilst you're waiting on my response in order for you to gather more information. Before I carry on, we're going to stop there. So we're going to come out of supported bridge. Said it right this time. And we're just going to let our body settle onto the floor again. So this feels for me absolutely delectable. The pelvis is grounded, the lower back is grounded, the bottom of the rib cage is grounded, the shoulders want to adjust themselves even more, which is really nice. Hopefully also feeling good for you there. Very, very simple, but very, very impactful for lots of people. And our final exercise, we're going to do supported frog, which we did in the posture protocol. So I'm going to use my 2 bolsters, but if you don't have 2 bolsters, just replicate something like the bolsters with a bunch of cushions and pillows. You can use your yoga blocks with the cushions and pillows on top. But what we want is a position where our knees hang open, but they're quite comfortably supported. So I don't want you to go too mental on feeling the stretch here in between your legs, because if you're focusing too much on stretching between your legs, you might notice that your pelvis is actually really wonky. So when I look down at my pelvis here, my right hip is way closer to the ceiling than my left hip is, and it's because my right hip is tighter. So my tight right hip is pulling my pelvis forwards. When we're laying on our back, forwards effectively means upwards. And I don't want that because I'm laying here with imbalance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab more cushions. I'm going to prop my knees up more so that I can adjust myself, that my pelvis is the thing that is now balanced from side to side. So my knees are up higher because I'm not asking as much opening from them, but this balances the pelvis off. And then this means I'm going to get more change around the pelvis first, and then the hips are going to be able to drop open. My feet are together, but I'm not squeezing my feet together. There's no action here. It's just totally, totally passive. We're letting the feet go. We're letting the pelvic floor go. We're letting the glutes go. We're totally supported. We're totally safe. If you get any pain, if your hip is pinching, if you've got like arthritis in it, or if you've got like a knee problem that is hurting here, then just do something else that suits you. Okay, just do something else that suits you. Hopefully one of the others did. I actually might just pop my head on a yoga block as well, just to keep the back of my neck long and kind of grounded on the floor here. And this is our final pose now. I can't remember where I got to about the symptoms, which is not very helpful. I know. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the practical advice rather than just lecturing about random stuff. So what I need you to do, if you want my help, which I am more than happy to give to you, but I just need the right information, I need you to come to me with information that I can use. I never want to hear about your symptom. I never want to know what the doctor calls it. I don't want to know how long you've had it. I don't want to see what your x-ray says. I don't want you to point at it and say it's inside my knee here. I've been told it's this tendon. I've been told it's that muscle. All of that stuff is incredibly reductionist, and it's looking at the body as if it's all not connected. And it's also incorrectly assuming that the painful bit is the problem, which we know is not the case. The whole system is the problem, not the bit that's just the bit that's shouting at you. So what I need you to do is come to me, even just with 3 exercises that you've tried, and let me know how those 3 exercises feel. Tell me what the exercises are. Tell me what the impact of them was for you. Please don't be frightened of telling me things that have made your pain worse, because like I said, that information is, it's all information to me. Remember, I'm not living in your body. I don't have the emotions tied to it in the way that you do. I am thinking about things like a mechanic. I care about people. I want you to get better. But for me to be able to do my job properly, I'm like a mechanic. I'm like a robot in my head of what I'm trying to sift through to help you. So I need you just to start, not overly think about it, do a couple of exercises, let me know how you find them. And from that information, I will then be able to point you in the right direction, but you will also be able to search for those things yourself on the software if you want to, and find routines that then build on that thing. So if you have, I'm going to go back to that example that I said before. Say you have right knee pain, and tonight you finish that exercise that we just did, and you realize that your right knee pain has come down, then that is fantastic information. We need to go after kind of pelvic balance and hip function. And what's important with posture is that when you're in pain, that you don't try and do firstly too much all at once, or lose focus from what gives you the best results most quickly. So this is a kind of like, it's a slight, it rubs slightly against what I've said earlier, but for a functional body that's not in pain, that moves a lot and just doesn't suffer for it, we want to be working absolutely everything to kind of keep things ticking by and keep the body, functional and fluid. For a body that's in pain, we need to think more strategically, and we need to give you the best results possible as quickly as possible so that you don't lose hope, so that you don't get frustrated. And so when you find something that works, tattoo it on your head, or as a less dramatic alternative, put post-it notes up or make a note on your phone or however you operate. But just remember the things that work and just do them more and more and more. Another thing that people will say is like, oh, this exercise makes me feel good. What else can I do? And there are always more exercises that I can give you. But if it's working, why do you need something else? If you're, if supported if supported bridge takes away your knee pain, then why do you need something different? Why can you not just do supported bridge more? Um, I think sometimes people overcomplicate things. They think that, there's this like magic sprinkling of exercises and that we always need something different. We always need something new. And we want to be making things harder because we want our bodies to be changing and not plateauing and stuff like that. But in those early days, when your primary focus is just getting yourself out of pain so that you can do more exciting stuff, just stick with what works. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. And I think for me today, that is my lecture over, but there will be more of this stuff coming over the course of the next month. And I hope that it has been helpful. And I also hope that it hasn't seemed too dismissive, but I'm just genuinely trying to be as upfront as I can be as to what I need from you. Like, we have a relationship. I can't fix you. It's not a one-way thing where I have magic solutions based off poor information. If we communicate and if I get the information that I need, we can work together to give you solutions. But it's not one-sided. I can't do that. I'm not magic. Everything I do is based off the laws of nature and logic. But I need information to help me deduce the answers to those problems. And hopefully, in our members Q&A, which we're about to move on to, you might have some questions where I can help you with that logic. But don't hate me. Hopefully I wasn't too harsh, but I'm kind of at the point now where you either like me or lump me, and I don't really care if you don't. So Hopefully some of you just like being told how it is. Just feel like I'm too old to mess around pretending to be someone that I'm not anymore. So you just get the real me. So we're going to stand back up again and we're just going to do the same tuning in that we did earlier on and just noticing if anything feels any different. So how was any pain that we had at the beginning? How is any tension that we had at the beginning? Do you feel better? Do you feel lighter? Do you feel taller? Do you feel more grounded? Have your shoulders changed position? Have you got blood flow to your hands? Are your arches of your feet more lifted? Are your glutes kind of naturally engaging, which mine kind of are from that last exercise? But just notice. And if you feel worse from it, brilliant. You've got information. You know 3 exercises that you don't do again anytime soon. You've got 3 exercises that you can tell me didn't work for your body, which helps me make suppositions about what might be the problem instead. But if you do feel better, great. Remember those 3 exercises. They are 3 exercises that are incredibly easy to do in front of the TV in evenings. We can get ourselves out of our chairs. We can do more productive things than just be sat in positions that mess up our posture, mess up our nervous system, mess up our circulation, and mess up our lymph flow, which is what sitting for many hours of the day is doing to us. So lecture over for now. I'm going to come to the screen and I will hang around for the next hour or so if there's lots of questions